Kia ora, everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're getting a bit hands-on. We're going to do a true first principles teardown of literally one of the most misunderstood concepts in tech right now, AI planning. We're stripping away the jargon, we're chucking out the buzzwords, and we're breaking this whole concept down to its absolute bare metal truths. Then we're going to build it back up, block by block, so you know exactly how it works under the hood. All right, let's get stuck in.
Section 1. The Magic AI Myth. To kick off our teardown, we really need to clear up a massive misconception. We've got to challenge how most of us actually think about artificial intelligence, because frankly, we're giving it way too much credit for being magic.
So here's the question, right? Is AI just a giant magical search engine? Like, does it just instantly know the answer the second you hit enter? People kind of treat AI like this purely reactive search box. You punch a question in, it spits an answer out. But look, for truly intelligent behavior, it's not just a single reflex. It's not just recalling random facts. Real intelligence actually requires foresight. It requires taking massive, complex tasks and breaking them down into manageable little steps.
And that brings us to Section 2, stripping back to basics. To figure out how AI actually achieves that foresight, we are stripping things right back. No assumptions, no shortcuts, just the raw, fundamental truths of how a system actually thinks.
Okay, here's our very first building block. Let's compare reactive AI with agentic planning. So, reactive AI, that's your immediate input and output. It's literally like touching a hot stove and immediately pulling your hand away, just a reflex. But on the flip side, we have agentic planning. This is all about foresight and strategy to reach a specific goal. Think of it like planning a road trip from Auckland down to Wellington. You don't just start driving south and hope for the best, right? You plan the route, you map out the petrol stops, you figure out exactly where you're going to grab a mince and cheese pie along the way. Complex problems need a sequence of interdependent operations, not just one single reactive reflex.
Which brings us to the absolute, irreducible truth of AI planning. If you take away just one thing today, make it this. You define the what, and the AI discovers the how. Basically, you are delegating to a specialist. You give it the objective, you give it the constraints, but the plan itself, that isn't known in advance. The AI actually creates the plan in response to your request, figuring out the specific step-by-step path required to get the job done.
Section 3. Rebuilding AI step by step. Now that we've found our fundamentals, let's look at how AI actually works by clicking the pieces together like Lego to see it in practice.
Let's use a super relatable example straight from our source material. Imagine you ask an AI to organize a team offsite. It doesn't just randomly start emailing hotels. No, step 1, it understands the initial state, like what's our budget, how many people are coming. Step 2, it defines the goal state, which is a successfully booked offsite event. And then step 3 is where the magic actually happens. It autonomously maps out the optimal sequence of actions to connect those two states. It figures out, okay, I need to shortlist venues, then check dates, and then lock in caterers. And it knows it has to do it in that specific order.
Take a squiz at this AI planning design pattern. So, you, the user, put in the prompt. But notice the agent doesn't just jump straight to the output. Instead, it loops into this strategizing phase. It generates Plan 1, Plan 2, Plan 3. And what's absolutely crucial here is adaptability. If your preferred venue is booked, the AI doesn't just crash and give up. It registers the obstacle, reevaluates the whole board, and generates a completely new plan with alternative dates. It intelligently navigates right around those roadblocks.
And honestly, this step-by-step logic is exactly how modern developers are writing code right now. For example, if you look at the CrewAI framework, you don't just ask one massive AI to do everything for you. You build a team. You set up a planner agent whose only job is to create a bullet point outline. Once that plan is locked in, it hands it over to a writer agent to actually execute the text. It's exactly like a project manager handing a blueprint over to a tradie to get the actual building done.
Moving on to Section 4, where AI usually fails. Because, look, a true first principles teardown means understanding the limits of the system. We really need to know exactly where AI struggles, and when you absolutely shouldn't be using this tool.
People often just assume that a smart, dynamic planning AI is always better. But actually, that's not true. Let's look at the trade-off here. Dynamic planning is fantastic for adaptability and handling uncertainty. But if a process is already well understood, like say a standard form that needs filling out the exact same way every single time, you actually want a fixed workflow. A fixed workflow purposely limits the AI's autonomy just to guarantee a reliable, predictable outcome. I mean, you definitely don't want the AI getting creative when it's calculating your taxes, right? That is a very quick way to get audited.
So, here is your practical rule of thumb for this. Use planning only when the how actually needs to be discovered. If the problem is way too complex for a single action, and you actually need a sequence of interdependent steps synthesized, well, that's when you unleash the planner. But if the path is already perfectly known, just stick to a simple script.
Section 5. Deep Research in Action. Let's take a look at some real-world examples of how heavy-hitting tech companies are applying these exact fundamentals to do some incredibly heavy lifting.
Here's Google's Gemini Deep Research in action. The prompt here asked for an analysis of venture capital investment in Europe, but notice what the AI did first. It didn't just dump a massive list of links on you. It explicitly deconstructed the complex prompt into a structured 6-point research plan. It's basically saying, right, first I'll search for total volume, then I'll look for year-over-year growth, then I'll identify specific sectors, and it actually presents this plan to you for review. It's doing exactly what we just discussed. It's defining the how before it takes a single action.
And the payoff of that iterative plan is massive. Because it followed those exact steps, searching, evaluating gaps, adjusting its queries on the fly, the output isn't just a raw list of search results. It's a fully evaluated, structured, multi-page narrative. We're talking an executive summary, clear headings, inline citations, the whole shebang. The AI did all the hard yakka of manual data acquisition and synthesis, which frees up a human analyst to focus purely on the high-level strategy.
Now, OpenAI is doing something very similar with their DeepResearch API, and there are a few reasons why it's such a massive game changer. First, it automates hours of tedious manual work. Second, it produces structured, verifiable outputs. But this third point here, this is the real kicker: transparency. See, unlike standard chatbots that just act like a mysterious black box, this API exposes all of its intermediate reasoning steps. You can see exactly what web searches it ran and exactly how it evaluated the data. Plus, you can even integrate it with your own private company data. It's essentially a researcher that proudly shows all it's working.
Section 6, wrapping it all up. We've gone all the way from the raw fundamental truths up to seeing complex, multi-stage AI agents doing real-world research. So, let's bring this first principles journey to a close.
Here is your quick, rapid-fire recap of the core truths we uncovered today. Number 1. Planning is what allows us to break complex, high-level goals into actionable, sequential steps. Number 2. The true power of a plan is adaptability, which lets the AI successfully navigate around real-world obstacles. And number 3. By defining the what and letting the AI discover the how, we completely transform simple, reactive chatbots into strategic, goal-oriented executors.
I actually want to read this quote directly from the source material because it just perfectly nails why we spent the time breaking this down today. Quote, "Ultimately, planning provides the essential bridge between human intent and automated execution for complex problems." End quote. It literally is the bridge. Without it, your AI is just guessing.
So I'll leave you with this thought. Now that you've looked under the hood, and now that you understand how an AI planner actually thinks and strategizes using first principles, what complex problem will you ask an AI to plan out for you today? Stop treating it like a basic search engine and start treating it like the specialist it is. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, everyone. Keep breaking things down, keep asking why, and I'll catch you in the next one. Kia ora.